Yeah,
Right, how's it going, folks? This is the first episode of, well, we're going to play with the name a wee bit. So, for the minute, it's going to be called the Friel Goalkeeper Podcast, but that might be subject to change. Delighted people are joining in, listening. So, we're joined by our first guest today, the one and only Ciaran Gallagher. How's it going, Ciaran?
Ciaran, not too bad. And yourself?
100%. It's been a while since I suppose we last spoke. Probably a couple of years now, isn't it?
It's probably a good few years.
Aye,
Yeah,
so
you're a lot.
no, I suppose, I was just going to say, I wanted to start off about how I suppose we first met and got to know each other. Suppose on my end of it, I remember it must have been about, say it was about 2007, 2008, getting a phone call from the local club, Rafo Town, who I was with at the time, saying that Ciaran Gallagher, who, you were starting to get a bit of a name, being on the Ireland squads, for the underage sides. And then I think you had just signed with maybe Harps first team at the time, or were looking to make that breakthrough, that you were going to run a goalkeeping school, do some goalkeeper training sessions. And, for myself, this was like everything I had been waiting for. I was playing in goals for a few years then. And you really started, I suppose you were before your time, really, that you were the man who was doing it in Donegal at a high level at that time. So I suppose
Yeah,
what was
you
the
probably know yourself. There was nothing for goalkeepers back then.
mm,
And I was lucky enough that, as you know, my father Aidan, I was lucky enough that he knew a wee bit about goalkeeping, played himself, was for full town and at a half decent level in Donegal. And only for that, I wouldn't have gotten any coaching myself because back then, as you know, it was a case of you just join in with the outfielders and just do what they were doing. And then maybe at the end of the session, maybe standing in 20 shots and maybe three of them coming at the same time. Which there's no benefit to a goalkeeper at all. So yeah, me and my father kind of sat down and thought, there's an opportunity here to maybe provide some goalkeeping sessions for the local goalkeepers, and we kind of didn't think much of it. We thought maybe we'd get two or three or four, maybe from the local club, maybe like yourself, maybe one or two others. But then after a while, after a couple of weeks, it just seemed to grow and grow, and within no time, like we were putting on extra sessions to meet the demand, and yeah, and it kind of just kind of grew from there. Between the two of us, we've always kind of kept the academy going since then. Now, at times I've kind of dropped in and out with my own kind of career where I couldn't commit to taking sessions and stuff. But at least at any given time, at least one of us were holding sessions. Especially Danny still kind of he's very busy at the moment up around the full Letterkenny Ballfay area, and myself and then Sean. So yeah, that's where it kind of stemmed from. As you know now, there's a lot more for goalkeepers out there in terms of sessions and training, and it's getting a lot better. It still could be a lot better, but at least it's better than where it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you really did pave the way for that. And we had a great bunch of goalkeepers at the time, really, really high standard of sort of young schoolboys goalkeepers. Many of whom went on to play for Finn Harps. And I know Jamie Bell, for example, went to play senior football, and one or two others that passed through played at a top level as well. Um, I suppose it's interesting there you were saying, how that's developed on. What about, I suppose, from your side of it as a coach? The game, the goalkeeper has changed massively in those sort of, I suppose, nearly 15 years now. We're
Yeah.
just coming up to that. And, I suppose when we were out in the likes of Castlefin and Convoy, we were doing a lot of sort of fundamentals, really, really good sessions. And, we were introduced to stuff that we had never been introduced to before. But I suppose that the game's changed. How on the coaching side of it, how has it changed for you, the types of sessions that you put on and so on?
So the modern game demand on the goalkeeper is obviously a lot different to then, like you said. Goalkeepers now need to be able to be a lot more comfortable with the ball at their feet. As you can see with the professional game, some of them are just an extra centre half when they're in possession. So yeah, my sessions have had to reflect that too. But probably compared to now, you start off the session warm up. We get your hands going, and then it's kind of always going to nearly have some sort of footwork or ball distribution involved at that stage, with combined with handling before it progresses on. So always kind of get it in somewhere in the session, and maybe then even at the end of the session, you finish with more kind of more specific kind of real technical stuff in the distribution. But then, and like I've seen all the stats in games, they've done a lot of stats in games and actions, goalkeepers' actions per 90 minutes, and the high percentage is the distribution and all. And there's very small percentage is the shot stopping and coming for crosses, whatever. But I still do feel that it can be them areas can be maybe a wee bit overlooked now at times, and it's about getting that balance. And it's just about, let's try and make sure that our goalkeepers are still good shot stoppers, can still command the area coming from crosses, or still break off the line for through balls, or combine that they're also coming all their feet. And it's just getting that balance. And it's not just paying too much attention on one area than the other. I'm a coach of an under 16s team. I get my goalkeepers involved in rondos and possession games on top of their goalkeeping stuff, and it's just purely to improve their feet. And it is important, but at the same time, I want them to, that if there's a shot from the edge of the box 20 yards out, that they're comfortable making the save too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting. I was listening to Talk Sport this morning, and they had Andy Goldstein on and Darren Bent, and they were kind of ranking the hierarchy of goalkeeping attributes now, from Darren Bent being obviously a centre forward. His at the top of his hierarchy was being able to play out from the back and playing with the feet. Do you think in your own hierarchy would you still put shot stopping, those sort of bread and butter fundamentals of goalkeeping above playing out from the back and being good with the feet, or what's your thoughts on that now?
I would, yeah. For me, yeah, it's great for maybe 85 minutes of the game. Your keeper's playing out from the back and he's pinging balls out to your fullbacks, and it's all great. And it's a 0-0 game. But come the 85th minute and the striker's had a shot and he concedes it, that undoes all the good work beforehand. And for me, it's important that the goalkeeper can make that save. So I still, even though the actions per minute or actions per 90 is a lot more in terms of distribution, when it comes down to it, we still need our keepers to make saves. And not to forget those areas of the game. So I would still have my shot stopping ahead of distribution. I'm not undermining distribution whatsoever. It's a crucial part of the modern game. I try and get all my goalkeepers all play out from the back. Um, but yeah, for me, let's not forget why we're in there with a pair of gloves on.
Yeah.
We're in there to save shots. We're there to keep the ball out of the net. And a lot of goalkeepers, even in the modern day, are making a really, really good career out of that. And maybe they're not as strong in other areas as others in terms of playing out from the back and distribution, but they're bloody good shot stoppers.
Yeah, and I suppose too, again, going back to that coaching side of it, and I don't want to stay on this point for too long, but I know it's always at the minute anyways, it's a popular conversation around distribution and so on. But I'm thinking back to when we were doing those sessions in Castlefin, and even from myself, for me it was all about shot stopping, the playing out as long as you were sort of pitting it up to the halfway line, you were happy enough. But what about the young fellas now that are coming in? Do you think there's a change in the young fellas getting into goalkeeping? Do you think they are more interested in playing out, or is there, they're looking at the likes of Ederson and even Allison? Are you seeing a different goalkeeper coming in? Maybe not a natural shot stopper, but are very strong with their feet.
Yeah, I definitely think goalkeeping's a lot more glamorous now than it was when I was 14, 15, 16. I probably was a goalkeeper because my dad was a goalkeeper. And thinking back then, I was thrown in there. I had a pretty long kick, and I was told to hit it as far as I can on the other half of the pitch. Even when I played underage with Ireland,
Mm.
We never played out from the back then. 15, 16, 17, never played out from the back. It was all long and direct. And even through my own kind of senior career, looking back and kind of being critical in areas where I was probably not as strong as others, was probably playing out from the back, but I wasn't exposed to it a lot. We didn't do it, which is fine. Different teams and different managers set up in different ways, and that's what makes football. Um, but even now playing a wee bit, look, it's local football. Maybe it's not as intense as what I was playing, but I'd be a lot more comfortable now because I've been exposed to it because you do it. So I definitely think it's more glamorous of a position, and it's reflecting on the youngsters coming through now. That a lot of them are excellent with the ball at their feet.
Yeah.
Um, and they've kind of been drummed into them from a young age. Um, and the coaching, obviously, the coaching's got a lot better over the last 5, 6, 7 years. Um, and the goalkeeping position has been given a bit more respect in terms from coaching. And
Hmm.
clubs now are looking for specialised coaches for their goalkeepers. Um, they encourage them to come to sessions like ourselves, different things they get. So definitely it's got a lot better over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's 100%. So it's interesting as well, you spoke about your father, Aidan, and sort of following his footsteps. He's someone I would like to sort of get on as well later down the line. And I think that's interesting, obviously that sort of father-son relationship when it comes to football and pursuing football and dreams. You had a very successful career. Um, capped underage. I suppose the highest you went then was the Irish under 21s playing senior football. Um, I suppose you said your father got you into it. Do you want to maybe just tell the listeners your journey, but of your background in football and your career?
Yeah, so I was probably in terms of maybe nowadays I was a late enough starter to football, probably about 9 under 10, so maybe I was 9 coming 10, and just got into football. And I think I was kind of just because Dad was a goalkeeper, I was thrown into nets and seemed to go okay. Back then I was probably physically a bit bigger than others, so I spent a period then of maybe under 12s where I played centre half. Now, I think maybe my pace and eventually caught up with me that I was thrown back into goals. And probably from the age of 12, I really kind of knuckled down, put a lot of work in, out in garden stuff like that. Didn't make county squads, East Donegal squads, or Lifford district squads as they're known back then. Didn't make them. Eventually made them about under 14. So played with Donegal County at under 15s. I remember I went down to Dublin for Ireland trials, and I just remember I was only one from Donegal at the time, and it's probably an area where it held me back in my whole career was mentally. I wasn't tough enough. I went down. I was a shadow of myself, playing within myself, and done myself no favors, and didn't get called back. Then the following year, under 16 level, we had like a goalkeeping open day, and something just was different that year, and as we got braver, and that's when I got picked for Ireland. From there, played a couple of years, went up to Harps first team from Castlefin Celtic when I was about 15. Um, Made my debut 17, and kind of from there kicked on a bit. Spent 1 year at Derry, didn't play much. Came back to Harps, promoted that year, 2015. And then had a couple of good years, enjoyable years in the Premier Division. And then kind of when I was about 28, 29, started picking up a few injuries, which kind of uh, put the brakes on my career a bit. A couple of knee injuries. So yeah, that's kind of been frustrating. The mental side of it, looking on now what I know now and experience I know now, I know that's probably an area what held me back when I was younger. In terms of I didn't have that belief that the goalkeeper needs, I didn't have that confidence. And I probably looking back, that's one area that's probably a regret. And the second one, you can't control injuries, obviously, but it's been a frustrating period where I was still only in 28, still have a good few years ahead of me.
Hmm.
Um, and it was kind of not in my terms that I I stopped playing football at senior level. Now I don't know what the future holds. I'm back playing just locally, getting myself fit again. Knees are good, everything's good, body's good. Something might come up. I've had a few conversations. So we'll see. So that we kind of the wee bit of hunger still there, probably get back at that level
Yeah.
if it was.
So you're playing with Glenealy at the minute, is it?
Aye, so just a local club, Glenealy Colts. I'm involved there in the coaching, a lot of coaching. So we've helped out coaching, got back playing, enjoying me playing on Sunday morning, just getting up on Sunday morning, going out playing a game of football.
Yeah.
Um, it's something. There's a period you go through when you kind of, especially injuries, now you hate football. Um, there's a period where I didn't even want to watch football, but after a while the bug comes back and you miss it and you want to get back into it.
Yeah. And have you sort of played there now since September onwards, sort of week in, week out?
I was only about no, December. I started playing again. I played last year with another local team, and then I started signed with December this year. So I've played a good few games now, and it's just been enjoyable. And you know what? I've kind of over as the weeks go on, you know yourself. It's a wee bit about when you're a goalkeeper. It's all about rhythm. You get your
Yeah.
timing. Everything's kind of coming back, and you're off the line. Your speed off the line's got a lot better in your decision making. Which is probably the biggest area for a goalkeeper's decision making. And it's got a lot better. So yeah, just enjoying it, just enjoying back playing football, being fit, being injury free, and just enjoying it.
Yeah, and you spoke about your injuries there. I know I'd sent you a message and we'd sort of had a little bit of a back and forth. I'm dealing with my own injury with my knee. I remember you had was it your first knee injury? You were quite young at Harps at the time.
That was actually that was a funny one. Um, so I got a hematoma in my quad, and within the hematoma, a calcification occurred. So basically, layman's terms, it came out for a punch, kind of collided with the player, got a dead leg. Within that dead leg, obviously the bruising, but a calcification, so calcium particles came off into into the bruising where the blood was, and basically a bone formed in my quad
Okay,
muscle.
jeez.
It was very complex. So that was for about 6 months. I think John O'Shea, it happened to John O'Shea too, I think.
Mm,
But for about 6 months I was out. It kept me out. And it was probably around that period I was under 19s with Ireland. Um, and I didn't really ever came back and got into training squads, and I never really recovered from it. Um, Probably at the level. It's probably more I missed out. Them 6 months I missed out. A lot of other people kind of kicked on, got their moves in England, um, and done well. And I never really got back and got in training squads with 21s. But I never was capped at 21s. So yeah, it's a frustrating period. But after that, I had a good few years injury free, kept myself really good shape. Until then, those ones I spoke about. And I done had a knee dislocation. Didn't do my ACL, but done cartilage damage, meniscus, and kind of struggled with that. And probably came back too quick the first time, and I had a reoccurrence of it again. And then that's whenever, so you probably know yourself, your journey from the ACL. It's a tough one. It's grueling, mentally and physically. So when you come back from it once to have a setback, it's tough to do it again so quick after.
yeah.
So that's where I struggled, and.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, when I did mine, I was sort of in that same position you were speaking about earlier. Didn't want to look at football, didn't want to watch on TV, just took a total back step for a few months to get the head right and then reset. And then, the motivation started to come back playing. Um, but it's obviously a very, very difficult experience. I could imagine, once was hard enough for yourself, but then to come back the second time is very difficult as well. And when was that? So when did you step away then from Harps at that time? Would that have been about 2018, 2019?
It was a wee bit later. I think it was.
Yeah.
I know it would be. No, that'd be right enough. I
Yeah.
must be. I must have been only about 27 then. Yeah, 31 now. So yeah, probably about that period. Because I
Yeah.
think it was before COVID came in. So probably in 2019, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Because I do actually remember during one of the lockdowns going up and training with Harps. David was doing a bit of coaching there, going up with Mark Anthony McGinley. And I know that that was kind of it would have been around a year or two before maybe that you would have stepped away.
Yeah.
But you had a couple, as you say, a couple of fantastic years at Harps there. I'm sure well, I was going to say you're sick to the back teeth, but maybe don't get sick of talking about the experience where of course, you just went up, you just got the famous promotion. You did do the promotion twice, but that famous year in 2015, I suppose what was your experiences that year? You had a fantastic season, of course, but what was that like as a memory for yourself?
Yeah, 2015 is probably my best year in my career. I'm always probably hard on myself anyway, but I'm happy enough to say that I played really well that year. Kept a lot of clean sheets, and ended up with the promotion, which easily the best night in my career ever.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, they're the ones. They're the nights you kind of hang on to. Every year, it still comes up on my Facebook, and I see the video of the full time, and I do some weird dance and skip and whatever. But that's the emotion.
Yeah.
That's the emotion that was built in for so many years. I was a Harps fan all my life. Went to all the games. So to be able to do that, and plus the year before in 2014, it wasn't an easy decision. It was a decision that I felt I needed to make. I made the transfer to Derry City, which obviously didn't go down well. And it wasn't an easy decision to make. But I felt at that moment in time I needed to experience full-time football. And looking back, I don't think I would have been the same goalkeeper in 2015 if I hadn't had that season in 2014. It benefited me training twice a day, gym, um, twice a day on Monday, twice a day on Wednesday, training Tuesday. No, I didn't play much. I only played 5, 6 games, but the experience of that year and playing at that level, it definitely set me up for 2015 season. So yeah, really enjoyable year. The second time that we were on with the promotion is probably a bit more of a bittersweet one
Mm.
because in the semi-finals of the playoffs we were playing Drogheda, and I remember it was about 85th minute, and I've come out and I've either punched the ball or again caught it. Whatever way I've landed, I felt pain in my knee. Um, and that's when I done my MCL. I think it was that time. It was around that same
Yeah.
period. And I done. It put me out for the finals against Limerick down in Limerick. So that was a bit more of a bittersweet. I played all the games all season, played every
Yeah.
game until that last one. And it's weird because even when we stayed up or we got promoted, um, I didn't feel I belonged in the celebrations, which was strange. Um, so yeah, that was a better more of a bittersweet one. But look, some great times with Finners, loved it. And it's probably a bit of my frustration that I didn't leave there on my terms. That
Mhm.
was kind of forced through injury at the time.
Yeah. And would you still follow Harps at the minute?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've been up a good few times. Got them. They actually came to Glenealy recently
That's right,
in
Ciaran.
January, was it? February maybe. We had a great night. Now we had a tough game. Obviously, the difference in standard. They were excellent tonight. I was busy, but the experience of getting them to our local club for the young ones in our club, young ones in Inishowen,
Mm.
who obviously look up to these players. It was a fantastic night, and I'm still in touch with a lot of players and a lot of backroom staff. Keep in touch, and it's a great club, and I hope that they have a great season this year.
Yeah, no, and how did that all come about? Because I remember you were putting things on Facebook and social media. It seemed to be um came a bit left field that not often, unfortunately, and has shown clubs or even Donegal Junior League clubs get that opportunity to play a Harps first team.
Yeah, look, there was probably people out there and there was comments made, and I've seen them on Facebook that they kind of frowned upon this announcement or this decision to play us in the friendly. for me, that's the problem in Donegal. Is people don't want to see something different or something that, geez, that was a great idea. People think that they don't like anything out of the norm. Initially, when I made contact and asked about it, it was more based on an open training session for the Finn Harps to use our facilities in the pre-season, and we would kind of open it to our players and they get to meet the players. And it was kind of put back to us that, well, why don't we play a game? We come down, get some minutes in the legs, and make a kind of occasion of it, which we're more than happy to do. And this is the kind of issue I have this kind of football in Donegal, or even maybe further afield in Ireland in general, is that why not? It was a great night to get to meet their players. Yeah, wasn't the toughest game that they're ever going to play, um, but still, you've got to look at the bigger picture.
Oh
You've
yeah.
brought Van Harps to Inishowen, you know what I mean? The geography here is a lot of Inishowen people make go and watch Derry City, which is fine. It's a great side, Premier Division side, great facilities. That's fine. But if we could have gained a handful of supporters that for Finn Harps that night, is more worthwhile.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And I think, as you say, that's always been the challenge. There has been a segregation between, I suppose, Inishowen football and then what would be seen as the rest of Donegal. And I suppose Finn Harps, carry, that there's a bit of stigma there, being labelled a Ballbafay club or a Finn Valley club, East Donegal club. And I think, it was a fantastic initiative that something that should really be happening, as you say, more of, even in areas like West Donegal, for example, or South Donegal, making those wider county connections. Because, in my opinion, anyways, or the way I've always viewed it, Finn Harps is the Donegal uh, football club. They're the Donegal senior team. There should be that connection. And I think, there is a lot of work that goes on within the Donegal, or sorry, the Finn Harps community, that they are trying to make those connections.
Yeah,
But that's the best way, is to going out, go get the club, to go see these grassroots teams, create those connections. As you say,
yeah,
there's a knock-on effect there with the young fellas then. And I remember uh for example, Finn Harps would have trained up at Dale College at the time.
yeah,
You would have seen them lads, and likes of Kevin McHugh, and I would have certainly idolized them. And that's what sort of knocked or kicked me on to be a lifetime follower. So I
yeah,
definitely think there is a small-mindedness within sort of the football and circles around Donegal, but even probably Ireland as a whole,
yeah,
it definitely needs to be challenged. But I think, it was a great step. And, listen, it'd be great to see um, other clubs in Inishowen, of course, but also in round Donegal get that opportunity as well. And it's something that should be, between the Inishowen League now, Donegal Junior League and Finn Harps, that should happen a lot more. And
yeah,
hopefully, we spoke there about you paving the way for the goalkeeping schools and the goalkeeping training in Donegal. Hopefully that's something Glen Neely, and you said yourself, are paving the way for that as well.
yeah.
So yeah, no, it was fantastic to see that, like,
Yeah, no, it was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed it for Mike, and I was a proud evening for myself that I could bring the club that I played senior football with to my local club, and we had a great evening, and they spoke highly of hospitality that they received. So yeah, no, really good, really enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it was great. We're going to just go a little bit, because I'm just looking at the time here. We're going to go just a wee bit left field. Um, Now, I know you're a big Liverpool man, and you were over a few weeks ago, but the Ireland squad was just announced there, obviously yesterday. You have those sort of two goalkeepers that are in pretty much every squad at this stage, but you have Gavin Bazunu and Caoimhin Gallagher. What's your thoughts there? Who are we looking at? Who should be the man now going forward in between the sticks in the next Ireland squads?
Yeah, look, what a position to be in. You can even throw Mark Travers into that.
That's right, yeah.
Three fantastic goalkeepers. So what a position to be in. So there's many years that we maybe had our number one, maybe there's drop off to number two. was a lot bigger than what it is
Mm.
now. Um, Bazunu deserved to play before this because he was playing week in, week out. But for me at the moment, Gallagher would be the number one. I expect him to probably be the number one. How
Yeah,
he's performed the last couple of weeks, the level he's playing at, he's really kicked on. As a Liverpool fan, I've seen him play maybe start of the season, maybe come in for a game, out for a game, and as a goalkeeper, that's so difficult. And I should have known better, but maybe I questioned at the time, thinking, is he able to play at this level week in, week out? Um, but my God, this last couple of weeks he's been fantastic. The game I went over to, you see it in a different light when you're there on TV. Is just his
yeah,
mannerism is he's so more commanding of the area. He's brilliant with the ball at his feet. He makes great saves. He could play for 95% of the teams in the Premier League. I just feel he's that good. So yeah, it'll
yeah.
be interesting to see what to do for the friendlies, but I would expect Keller to be starting.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said there, and that's a comment that comes up quite often is he was starting 95% of Premier League clubs. What do you think, for himself he should do? I know he's playing a lot of games at the minute, but he's I think he must be 25, 26 at this stage. Do you think, I've seen Celtic were linked with him, with Joe Hart announcing his retirement. Do you think he should just stay at Liverpool, or is it time? Maybe he's getting a good opportunity at the minute, putting himself in a shop window. Do you think now is the time to sort of cash in and make a move?
Yeah, look, as a Liverpool fan, it'd be easy for me to sit here and say, no, I should stay and be number two to Allison. And as Allison can pick up injuries from time to time each season. But at the end of the day, Keller needs to be selfish. He needs to play football. Now, I do think he can play at a very high level in the Premier League, week in, week out. And I think that's what he should strive for. Um, but Jeff, definitely looking beyond this season, maybe the summer, he needs to be playing week in, week out now, 25, 26. And so he can really stake a claim as Ireland's future number one. Because I definitely think he's good enough to.
Yeah. Is there anyone else, I suppose, young goalkeepers at the minute, maybe not, not even Irish, but are sort of sticking out to you, standing out to you as you think, right, this guy's the real deal. I'm not sure how much you follow it, but are really impressing you at the minute.
Hmm. I think off the top of my head now, which obviously is a sign that there's maybe not too many. Um, Not that I can think of.
Well, it's an
Uh,
interest. It's actually, maybe that leads me to another question. I was actually having this conversation a few weeks ago. To me, I don't think there's as many world-class keepers as there once was. I think there is obviously a few. Ederson, Allison seems to be leaps and bounds ahead of people at the minute. But even within the Premier League, it seemed to be there was several world-class keepers in the Prem, and even in, the European leagues. But do you think, I suppose, because maybe there's a bigger focus on distribution, the standard of goalkeeping has dropped?
I definitely do think, and it goes back to my point where there's a lot more focus. Like I would love to see the difference between maybe a Liverpool goalkeeping session 10 years ago as opposed to a
Mm,
Liverpool goalkeeping session now. I'm not saying that the goalkeepers can't save because they obviously can, but maybe that's my point at that level. Um, because yeah, there's definitely you think back to the top goalkeepers that play in the Premier League over the years, the standard was so high. It's still high, but yeah, I definitely think that there's not as many top quality goalkeepers through the league. To think of Ederson, obviously Allison, as you mentioned them, trying to think of others. David Raya is quality. I don't think he is of that bracket.
yeah.
Um, World class. I wouldn't put him there yet, anyway. But then again, you look at it. 2 seasons ago, Ramsdale was earmarked as the next big
Mm,
thing as a goalkeeper. And now he can't get a game. So that's how
yeah.
fine a line it is for a goalkeeper to you could be the flavour of the month this month, and you could have one or two a run of bad games, and that's you out of the team, and you may not play for because the position it is for a good few months. So
Yeah.
it is a very fickle position too. But you
Yeah.
look at the likes of Allison, like performed consistently for so many years now. For me, maybe it's because I'm a Liverpool fan. I think he's probably the best in the world.
Would you say, now this is another question of or conversation I've had over the last few weeks, would you say he's the best to ever do it in the Prem?
Hmm. Uh, he's up against some tough
Oh
competition
yeah.
there. Yeah, look, it's easy for me to say because I'm a Liverpool fan, and it's, you know what I mean. If he was a Man United keeper, I'd be saying no. If Peter Cech ahead of him maybe, and Peter Schmeichel, there's a lot of top quality goalkeepers there. Um, Maybe if he could add a few more honours to his list too. Maybe he's in that
Yeah.
conversation. Don't take it away. He's fantastic. Ederson is a better goalkeeper in terms of distribution. But you come back to the game. What is a goalkeeper there mainly for? And Alisson is probably one of the best at that.
Yeah, I think at the minute there's no one that's as complete, and I suppose
Yeah,
um that would be the argument for me, being one the best ever in the Prem is just how complete he is,
yeah.
sort of head to toe, in all areas of the pitch, or all areas of the game. I know we're just sort of I'm looking at the clock counting down here. Why don't we end on, and we might do a future episode or a part two down the line as well. Why don't we finish on just one more question, Ciaran? Um, who would you put in your Mount Rushmore of goalkeepers? So you get four, and then maybe an honorable mention as well. And it could be yours, it doesn't have to be as objective, maybe a bit more subjective.
Well, number one, straight away, Shea Given. He's
Aye.
going in there right away. Then I would have Allison because how quality is. And then I would probably go for Pepe Reina because Pepe Reina is probably the main goalkeeper. Obviously, I grew up with Jersey Dudek, but Pepe Reina was the first goalkeeper at Liverpool where I thought, wow, the sidewind, the volley, everything that you wanted to try and do as a youngster.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's my three. And after that, you have a couple of them from a group of Oliver Kahn when you're growing up, unbelievable. Um, not giving any Man United shouts here. I'm knocking down that route.
Any rogue mentions like UC Askelainen or Ali Al Habsi or
Arthur,
something?
or what about Arthur Boris? I love him at Celtic too. Yeah.
The
Probably
whole,
go for
yeah.
yeah, yeah, Holy Goalie. Yeah, so that's my four. Yeah,
Yeah, that's perfect. Listen, Kieran, I really appreciate it. I suppose, yeah, we might get another episode, future in the future down the line. We'll see how it goes. But thanks for taking the time out. I know on a busy Friday evening, so I really do
no, thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me on.
All
No,
right,
thanks for having
lovely.
me on. Really enjoyed it. Cheers,
All
Sean.
right. All right, folks, that's episode number 1 with goalkeeping guru, Kieran Gallagher. All right, see you later, Kieran.
Yeah, thanks.